I'm really grateful to the chairman of this committee for calling this. This is an actual area. In fact, this whole subcommittee is an area where there's a lot of bipartisan alignment and a lot of really growing concern as Americans are seeing prices on everything go up. This is not the relegation of any political party. These are trends in many ways that have been going on for too long. About the airline industry, I have to say I'm a very impacted witness as well as the ranking member because at 6'3" and larger than most Americans, I find our airline seats really inadequate. Feeling that pain that many Americans are feeling, in addition to a lot of the other challenges with air travel. There's just things folks don't understand. They really can, and it's understandable the confusion and frustrations that American consumers are feeling when it comes to airlines. Most Americans don't understand why Google Flights will say that it's cheaper to fly for 10 hours with a stop without a stop instead of a 6-hour non-stop.
You won't believe the heated exchange that happened in this meeting. It started off calm, but quickly turned into a serious reality check. Let's break it down step by step.
Or why it's cheaper to have a layover in Atlanta when you're flying from Philadelphia to Kansas City when no reasonable person can consider Atlanta on the way. Nowadays, airlines advertise so many different fares and classes, whether it's premium, economy, board first, priority, economic, basic, and they tack on so many fees for everything from taking a bag on board to sitting with your other family members. It is unbelievable. Those fees get labeled as either ancillary or junk fees, and we really believe that, at least I believe that this is a regulatory question and more. And here's the thing. Passengers spend what seems like a third of their monthly mortgage to fly nowadays. Major airlines that have repeatedly benefited from federal government bailouts now pay less in taxes and pocket more from consumers because of these separate fees customers pay on add-ons that are not taxed like base airfare. Back when consumers paid an all-in airfare, that tax revenue actually went towards improving airports and improving airport infrastructure. But the system as it was before is not what it is now. These problems are hurting airline competition and really hurting consumers. And there are more issues than just fees. But let's just say that when the former Secretary Buttigieg initiated rulemaking would have required airlines to be more transparent about these extra fees. Unfortunately, that's been rolled back now into the current administration, which is going to make a bad situation far worse. Fees aren't the only thing. Price discrimination or price hikes due to the implementation of AI-based surveillance pricing unfairly targets consumers and takes advantage of their circumstances, like flying solo or having must-go trips where a loved one is ill, or worse, where there's a funeral to attend.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, share, and stick around for more simple and dramatic retellings of big political and celebrity moments.
AI-based surveillance pricing, for example, sees a consumer search for funeral home and palliative care, while other searches last-minute couples getaway. The airline could show the grieving traveler higher prices based on their estimated willingness to pay, and that's where we go. That's where we go to low-cost airlines, and it's important that we realize that low-cost airlines have a role to play in the industry because low-cost carriers market, we see fundamentally competition flourishes and prices go down. I remember a moment of honesty with JetBlue when they warned that all that power in the hands of a very few deep-pocketed airlines has implications for consumers in the form of reduced options, high fares, and often poor service. Now, that is really something that is getting worse. Anti-competitive practices seemingly have left Americans with less and less access to air travel. After both 9/11 and COVID-19 pandemics, Congress bailed out the airlines to avoid a collapse of our entire airline industry. Yet, since the pandemic, big airlines have dropped dozens of cities from services, places like Flint, Michigan, Lincoln, Nebraska. Some cities like Butte, Iowa, and Toledo, Ohio, have lost all major carrier service. Capital city of Wyoming, Cheyenne, has lost service on and off over the last decade and has had to guarantee the revenue of a major airline merely to secure regularly scheduled service to a single hub, all through taxpayer dollars. That's just not right. We're going to hear from incredible experts today about rural and mid-sized cities, routes, and connectivity, and how airport hubs don't work, or how airport hubs don't work. But it's clear to me that taxpayers and government have been invested in the success of airlines and airports in America, and we deserve better returns on that investment in the form of efficient, safe, meaningful air choices and competitive pricing. The stakes are really high. Competition is critical for safety and for maintaining and supporting the essential workforce that ensures safety and maintenance. I believe that we have to do more. We must invest in our systems, including addressing our air traffic controller shortage and our infrastructure needs. And it seems like this industry needs capacity, more routes, smaller mid-sized cities, and a bit of a buffer. This is something we should all be committed to. More staff, bigger seats, and extra aircrafts on standby should be part of this conversation. To weather crises and the natural boom and bust cycles in the market, as well as to prevent bankruptcies and unfair competition that lead to ultimately less meaningful choices for higher airfares for American travelers, is truly at issue. A resilient airline industry is the most important goal here, to keep American carriers competitive around the world and to protect travelers from safety issues that DC locals have been tragically reminded this year have serious consequences. We have work to do, and competition is at the center of this committee. I'm grateful for. It's hopefully going to start finding solutions. The last thing I want to say is I want to add to these witnesses, it is a big deal when you come and testify before Congress, before the United States Senate. It's also a bit of a sacrifice with your jobs and your families will come here. Many of you had to fly, and we know how burdensome that could be. So I want to thank everybody for being here, and I will try not to get very upset with Professor Sitaram, because he's an extraordinary guy. I've read his bio, but that hair is very obnoxious to me and the chairman of this committee, sir. I should hold him in contempt of Congress, but
It almost feels like a war crime.
Yes, sir. There was a day that we looked back here.
It's a great point. We really do appreciate you coming here and knowing how busy you all are.
I just want to say I'm really thankful to the chairman of this committee for calling this meeting. This is a very real topic. In fact, this whole subcommittee focuses on an area where people from both political parties actually agree. And there's a lot of growing worry as Americans keep seeing prices for everything going up. This problem doesn't belong to one political party. These are patterns that have been happening for a long time, especially when we talk about the airline industry. I have to say, I'm not just a ranking member here, but I'm also personally affected because I'm 6'3" and bigger than most Americans. So I really feel how small and uncomfortable the airplane seats are. I feel the same pain that many Americans feel, along with all the other problems that come with air travel. There are just so many things that people don't really understand about it. And honestly, it makes sense why they're confused and frustrated. For example, most Americans don't get why Google Flights might say it's cheaper to take a 10-hour flight with a stop instead of a 6-hour direct flight. Or why it might be cheaper to stop in Atlanta when flying from Philadelphia to Kansas City, even though Atlanta is clearly not on the way. These things don't make sense to regular people. Nowadays, airlines offer so many different kinds of ticket classes: premium, economy, board first, priority, economic, basic. And then they add on a ton of extra fees for everything. They charge you for bringing a bag, for sitting next to your family, and more. It's unbelievable. These extra charges are called ancillary or junk fees. And I really believe that this isn't just a money issue. It's a rules and regulation issue too. Think about it. American passengers now spend what feels like a third of their monthly house payment just to fly. The big airlines that got help from the government during hard times now pay less in taxes, but collect more money from passengers through all these extra fees, which aren't taxed like the regular airfare. In the past, when people paid one full airfare price, some of that money went to help improve airports and airport buildings. But that's not how it works anymore. Now, these problems are hurting competition between airlines and making things worse for travelers. And it's not just the fees. When the former Secretary Buttigieg started making rules to make airlines show these extra costs more clearly, That effort sadly got canceled by the current administration. That made a bad situation even worse. And on top of that, there's another big issue. Airlines are using AI-based pricing to raise prices unfairly. This kind of pricing looks at people's online activity and guesses how much they're willing to pay. For example, if someone searches for funeral homes and palliative care or books a last-minute solo trip for a family emergency, the AI system might charge them more because it thinks they must go and will pay anything. That's not fair. This is why low-cost airlines are important. When cheaper airlines join the market, competition gets stronger and prices usually go down. I remember JetBlue honestly saying that if a few rich airlines control everything, passengers will face fewer choices, higher ticket prices, and worse service. And that's exactly what's happening now. Anti-competitive actions by big airlines have left many Americans with fewer travel options. After September 11th and the COVID-19 pandemic, Congress gave airlines huge bailouts to save the entire industry. But after the pandemic, big airlines dropped flights to many cities. For example, Flint, Michigan, and Lincoln, Nebraska lost some services. Cities like Dubuque, Iowa, and Toledo, Ohio lost all major airline services. Cheyenne, the capital of Wyoming, lost flights on and off for years and even had to promise a major airline guaranteed money just to get regular service to one hub. And guess what? That money came from taxpayers. That's just not fair. Today, we're going to hear from amazing experts who will talk about routes for rural and mid-sized cities and how airport hubs work, or rather don't work. What's clear to me is that the government and taxpayers have spent a lot to help airlines and airports, and we should get better results for that money. We deserve safe, efficient flights with fair prices and real options. The stakes here are really high. Competition is very important not only for fair prices, but also for safety and keeping the skilled workers who make sure planes are safe. I truly believe we need to do more. We have to invest in our systems, fix the shortage of air traffic controllers, and improve our infrastructure. This industry needs more capacity, more routes to small and mid-sized cities, and a little extra support to handle problems. We should all agree on this. We need more staff, bigger seats, and extra planes ready to help during busy times or emergencies. This can stop bankruptcies and unfair competition that eventually leave travelers with fewer choices and higher prices. The big goal here is to build a strong, reliable airline industry. This helps American Airlines stay strong worldwide and keeps travelers safe. Sadly, recent tragic events in D.C. reminded us how serious these issues can get. We still have work to do, and competition is at the heart of fixing it. I'm thankful that this committee is starting to find solutions. Finally, I just want to thank all the witnesses here today. It's a big deal to come and speak before the United States Senate. It's also a sacrifice because you had to leave your jobs and families to be here. Many of you had to fly to get here, and we all know how stressful flying can be now. So thank you for being here. And I promise I'll try not to get too annoyed at Professor Satterman. He's an amazing person. I've read his bio. But honestly, that hair of his really bothers me. It bothers me, and it bothers the chairman too. I almost feel like we should charge him with a crime for having hair that good. Yes, sir, there was a time when we looked that good too. That's a great point. We really appreciate all of you for coming, knowing how busy you are.